Hi everyone, my name's Jess Barney and this is my garden. I am super excited to share with you a midsummer garden tour. It is currently the end of July in 2021, and a little about my garden. I garden in Zone 5B. I am just outside of Chicago in Illinois, and my garden utilizes 6 raised beds and 2 arched trellises for vertical space for a total growing square footage of right around 290 square feet. So why don't you come with me and let's see what's growing in the garden. These first 2 beds are 4 by 4, and currently what I have growing are 2 zucchini plants, a just gorgeous evening sun sunflower. I have some bell pepper plants and jalapenos. I did have onions here. I just pulled those out, and I'll be planting some fall crops in the coming week. In this bed here, I have another evening sun sunflower, 2 more zucchini plants. These are the Black Beauty variety. I have another jalapeno plant and 2 shishito plants in this bed, along with a beautiful cosmo and another sunflower that has got to be almost 8 feet tall and is about to open any day. So when I was planning my garden this spring, I was hoping for these evening sun sunflowers to be on the corner of the beds, which they are. I did not expect this guy to be this tall. So lesson learned, first time growing him. And they are definitely shading out some of the space underneath them, which is impacting my peppers a little bit. So I have been heavily pruning my squash in this bed to make sure that those leaves aren't completely covering the peppers so that they still get enough growth. I started doing the vertical trellising of the squash this year for the first time. I saw this tip last year on Instagram and thought it was a really great idea. For me, I'm limited in my garden space, so growing vertically really helps me maximize the square footage inside my beds. I've been really pleased with the results I've gotten. I actually haven't had any disease set in yet. It's still kind of early, and the plants have continued to be extremely productive because I'm able to prune the bottom of the stalk as it grows. So it's really putting all its energy into its fruit and new growth as opposed to maintaining old growth. So as we head into the garden this way, this is my favorite space at the moment. And this is my butternut squash and pumpkin arch trellis area. So I did have some beans in my barrel pots here. However, the rabbits decided that they wanted them all to themselves this year. So I didn't get any beans, but I do have a lovely zinnia growing. And I have some additional zinnias that I just started a few weeks ago that I'll plant in here to fill it out as well. The bed on the left here had most of my cool weather crops in the spring season. And so it's a little bare right now, but I'm getting ready to plant some additional fall crops. I did some experimenting with kohlrabi. This is the only one that isn't completely eaten. The other ones are looking pretty gnarly. This is a marigold that will look amazing this fall. I have some ornamental oregano. And then these are actually rutabagas that I planted just to see what would happen. It's my first time growing them. I truly love this space in my garden. I can't describe the feeling I get as I come through here. It's just like walking in my own personal secret garden. So I do have some pumpkins growing up here. I do have them supported with some mesh so they're not putting too much weight on the stems. I have one there, and one down here. On the other side, I have 2 more pumpkin plants. You can see one right up there. And then on this one, I also have a butternut squash. I only have one. I had 2 other fruits, but they didn't make it. So I'm hoping that this guy fully ripens and I get to at least experience one this year. Growing pumpkins and butternut squash this way has been really helpful. Not only does it create a beautiful display, but it really allows me to grow some of these larger plants, vining plants, in a much smaller footprint. And they seem to be pretty happy. On the back side of this bed, I have more pepper plants, 1 shishito and 2 bell peppers that are right here. Again, looking really good with fruit production. I cannot believe how much fruit I have gotten off of these shishito plants. I've probably harvested close to 100 already, and it's still just covered. And the bell peppers are starting to come along nicely as well. I have some sage right down here in the bottom. And then I did have a zinnia here. It was really cramped, so I removed that to give a little bit more airflow to the pumpkin and butternut squash vines as we moved into the hotter months of the summer. And then this is my eggplant forest. So I have 3 different varieties growing here, even though it kind of looks like just one big plant. The 3 varieties are the little finger variety, which grow in these little clusters. Again, super, super prolific producers. Just amazed at the amount of fruit I got and continue to get. I have 2 rositas, which the color on this is just beautiful. And then 2 black beauty plants, which produce this darker purple eggplant. these final two beds, I have my tomatoes, corn, cucumbers, cantaloupe, onions, another zucchini, and flowers, along with some basil. And this has been probably the most exciting part of the garden next to the pumpkin trellis, because I live in the Midwest and I know what cornfields look like. I did not think growing corn in raised beds was going to work, but I have proved myself wrong. So let me take you through a little bit more in depth about what's going on in these beds. I planted another zucchini plant here. I had some empty space from my spring lettuce, so thought I would give this another go around. You'll see a lot of the leaves have holes in them. I was wondering what it was from. I started noticing in the morning when I would wake up that there are little finches that rest on these leaves and pick at them. There's no bugs, no eggs that they're eating. They just like to sit and flop on them. So a lot of these holes are from beaks or little talons, but that's okay. I'm happy to share my garden space with them. I have some remaining onions that are continuing to bulb up before I pull them. They'll probably be ready to harvest in another week or so. I have another marigold here for fall. I have a few carrots from a seed packet I got from a friend of my sister's, and threw them in. Didn't honestly care for them very well, so not quite sure what's going to happen. But some of them are starting to look pretty good, so I'm hopeful. This is 2 cucumber plants, and it has made its way almost up to the top of the trellis there. Another sunflower that, again, I did not expect to get this big. They did not get this big when I grew them last year, but there's something that they like this year. As we come around this way, I have another cucumber plant on this side of the trellis, and then I have 2 cantaloupe plants here. The variety is called Minnesota Midget, and it is a smaller vine, gets about 3 to 4 feet. So these are probably done growing, and now it's going to focus on fruit production. I actually do have quite a few fruits in here. I am really excited to see them continue to grow up. But they are looking really good. Next to those, I have 2 of my tomato plants. So the variety here is Brad's Atomic Grape, my favorite heirloom variety of tomatoes to grow. Has this beautiful green and purple skin, and then as it ripens, it will start to turn beautiful shades of yellow and orange. Just really great producer as well, one of my favorites. And then next to that, I have a slicer tomato. This one is the Paul Robeson variety. Really, really great fruit production this year. Last year I grew these, I only got 4 fruits per plant about. This guy has, I think, 11 or 12 on it. So really, really great production this year. Some basil. And then not everything always goes as planned. I have my other barrel pot here, which had green beans in it. As you can see, it's been completely eaten and munched down by the rabbits. A few beans did come, but I'm honestly not going to eat them because they probably won't taste very good. It's trying to continue to regrow, but now that I have those other flowers started, I think I'm gonna pull these out and put flowers in. As we come around this side, I have got my own Midwest corn patch. It has all started to tassel and open up for pollen, and I have been working on hand pollination for the last few days. But really excited. This is my first time growing corn, and I'm super excited to see the results. This is my first cob that started to produce silks, so I'm really looking forward to see what that one looks like when it's fully matured. And then finally, I've got my 2 last tomato plants, which are the yellow pear tomato. And these have just started to ripen over the last few days. My husband and I got to share our first ones the other night, and also another really prolific producer. Just look at all that fruit. Some more basil, another marigold. I just love these in the fall. I have some rosemary down here that I started from seed, which has been delicious. And then I filled in the bed with a bunch of flowers. So zinnias, this is a scabiosa zinnia. And then in the back side here, I've got my candy cane zinnia. And then in the middle, I have more cosmos that are just starting to bud and should open shortly. Isn't that amazing? Honestly, the garden is my favorite place. I come out every morning and do some garden tasks, and it has just been my favorite way to start my day. I mean, how could you not come out here and just love every second of it? That's why I wanted to make this video, so that I can look back in those colder months when not much is going on and reminisce about this amazing, amazing summer garden. Well, I think I'll end the video here underneath my favorite spot, my secret garden of pumpkins and butternut squash. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.